Welcome to Nightcap, recordonline.com. Army football beat writer Sal Internal here with our columnist Kevin Gleason. And, another loss here for Army in the Service Academy game, 31-12 to Air Force today. And, Air Force really put a hurting on them offensively. The sophomore quarterback, Worthman, 444 total yards against the number 3 defense in the country.
I mean, it was just one of those things where it seemed like they wore down Army a bit in the second half, started to wear midway through the third quarter. I mean, it all stems from Army's offense not being able to consistently move the football. They had a few opportunities early, an interception, a couple stalled drives, and once Air Force assumed control, they just hung on the football, and Army's defense was out in the field too long.
Yeah, I'm writing about, Army doesn't get a lot of breaks in these games usually, and they got a break in the second quarter where Alex Ackerman recovers a fumble on Air Force's 17, but 3 plays later, Ahmad Bradshaw throws in the triple coverage, picked off, no points at all.
Yeah.
And that's a momentum killer to me. I mean, that you put any points on the board. This game was 10-6 at halftime.
Yeah.
It was a defensive game in the first half. You need to put points up there, and talking to Coach Monken after the game, after his press conference, you just throw the ball away, you throw it out of the end zone, and you kick the field goal.
Right,
but
right.
Ahmad forced the ball in there, and this game really is not really Army, like you said, Army's offense just didn't produce that. But you have to credit Air Force's defense.
No doubt. Air Force defense, one of the better Air Force defenses we've seen in a long time, I think. The number they did on Navy, really dominating Navy's offense. I mean, not many teams do that to Navy. And now coming in here and taking care of Army the way they did. I just think, something about Army in these Service Academy games, they're always, you can almost count on them making that one mistake, that second mistake, that fumble, that interception, allowing the big play. Defensive backs often getting torched. We talk about how good Army's defense is, but, their defensive backs really had a hard time today keeping track of these receivers, whether it was just not making a play in the ball in the air or the play on the scramble, Worthman's scramble, where they just lost track of the receiver. He got behind him and went in.
You had 4 guys chasing Worthman, and you had, I think it was Jacoby Owens wide open.
Right here on the right side of the field.
Right, about 30 yards down the field, and you're like, and Coach Monken said that play never happens if they don't let Worthman out of the pocket. You have 4 guys, and guys had a chance to...
Again, it's angles, and they didn't surround them. They didn't have the angle on them, so they allowed Worthman to stray toward the sideline and have some more time to throw it. The problem, you see it all the time with Army. They're in position to make plays with the ball in the air, and they don't make them. Now, it's a talented receiver that Air Force has.
Jalen Robinette,
Robinette's a terrific receiver. It seems like he's played about 12 years now for Air Force, too, by the way. I've heard his name for a long time. He must have like 6 brothers who played, too. But it's just that, the ball's in the air. You see Robinette cutting across the middle on that deep slant. You see 3 Army players converging, and you just knew that not one of them was going to make that play. I'm not discrediting the Army players. I just think that they're in position. They don't quite either have the jumping ability or the angle to make that play. I just think it's about angles. It's about fundamentals. It's about not cashing in when you have the chance to cash in. And we haven't even discussed their special teams play yet. It's just it's one thing after another with special teams.
Yeah, they score a touchdown. They missed the extra point. It's blocked. The punting. The best punt was on a ball that rolled about 15 yards for like 47 yards. And, they just keep on struggling. And, I don't think it really cost them this game, but it certainly doesn't help playing the field position battle in a close defensive game where you're pinned to your 20 and you kick the ball 30 yards and they're getting the ball near midfield. That certainly doesn't help matters at all. And just the gashing of the big play today. I thought in this game, the passing game would decide this game. Whichever team had the most big passing plays. That's what a lot of times happens in these Service Academy because all the defenses are usually all sucked up to the run.
Right.
And wow, the passing. What was the stat? 32.5 yards per completion for Air Force.
Yeah, he's 6 for 9. I had to look at it like 6 times to make sure it wasn't like a halftime stat. 6 for 9 for 195.
Unbelievable.
And it's just amazing because. Yeah, he, not taking anything away from the kid, but, he's not Dan Marino, He's throwing the ball up and the kids are making good plays behind him. But a lot of that is just, throwing timing patterns, throwing it out in front of the receiver, and the Army D-backs just not making that play on the ball. it's kind of it's a combination of so many things. Like Army's down 10-0, they score and they get the extra point blocked.
Yeah.
So instead of 10-7, it's 10-6. There's all these things that wind up being huge things, and later on forcing Army to go for the 2-point conversion. When
forcing, I don't know. Forcing,
it was a bad word. You're absolutely right. It wasn't.
What are you doing?
It wasn't. I didn't think it was a smart decision either. It was way too early to go for that 2. I don't think it played a role in the end. Well, it didn't play a role in the end. But no, you're right. But at least making them consider the 2-point conversion at the end. Again, special teams and kickoff out of bounds. I mean, there's just so much to it.
Yeah, this game, a lot was at stake. Talked about it all week, what was at stake. So now Air Force leaves with its 20th Commander-in-Chief trophy. They leave with its 8th bowl, clinch their 8th bowl game in Troy Calhoun's 10 years. And Army now has to go on the road. Well, they have to go to San Antonio and beat a desperate Notre Dame team who's 3-6, who has to win out to get to a bowl next week, and then come back in here and play Morgan State. So now they turn into must-win mode. And this was a game, if they would have won, they pretty much clinched bowl eligibility. So now they have to, they'll be fighting.
Yeah. You talk about bad symmetry for Army. While Air Force is on its way to clinching the CIC and a bowl bid by beating Army, Navy's knocking off Notre Dame to clinch a bowl bid.
Yeah.
And then Army's eventually going to lose to probably clinch a not getting a bowl. I mean, there are the 3, if you want to encapsulate the 3 service academies in one day, there you have it right there.
Yeah, I mean, just now. So now Coach Monken is 0-5 in these service academy games in his 3rd year. And, it's going to be an uphill battle for Army the rest of the way.
I think he's making strides with the program from everything that, I see in talking to you and in talking to him. Not much this season at all, but in following the best way I can follow it, and institutionally, it seems like he's making strides. The players are faster. They match up, I think, better athletically today even against Air Force, where this used to be a game where Air Force would just run by Army the entire day. They don't do that anymore, but now it's just this fundamental flaws that they have. Some players afterward talked a lot about not being in a position to make plays or not following their assignments.
Mm-hmm.
And
execution today was just not.
And they talk about that, but why is that? You ask yourself, why is that? And at some point, it's just because it has to fall on the players. Yeah. It's incumbent upon the players to be focused 100% of the time. And why isn't Army recruiting players that are not focused 100% of the time? We've seen this before with this team, how it just comes down to fundamental flaws.
Well, you looked at, just real quick, you look at, Jeremy Tim talked about at the beginning of the week, just they had to be focused and zoned in and not make any foolish stuff. They had 2 personal foul penalties on the sidelines there in the first half. And it's just like, I don't know, I forget how much effect they had on the game, but it wasn't a good sign early. It just wasn't a good sign early.
And almost any late hit's a real lousy penalty because almost everyone's deserved, and these were both deserved. They're a couple of feet out of bounds. Occasionally it might be like, 50-50 penalty and it's called, and you think you might get a bad break on a late hit, but it's almost always the right call, and it was. Yeah. Can't hit somebody when they're 2, 3, 4 yards out of bounds because the refs are on top of it. Especially when it's the other team's sideline.
I think in Tim's case, he tackled him and then pushed him back.
And that was it. And then the second case was he just pushed, kid pushed him
like a
3 yards. But Tim, and that's your
senior captain.
That's your captain.
Yeah. And there was just one more thing to talk about. A play. It's 17-12. First play of Army just scores. Air Force gets the ball back. It appeared Elijah Riley might have had an interception near the sidelines. The officials ruled that maybe his heel, part of his foot was out of bounds. I asked Coach Monken at the press conference if he wanted to challenge. He said he wanted to challenge the play, but he was told he was too late by the officials to challenge it. You never know on that play. If it's called on the field, it's going to be really hard to overturn unless there's obvious evidence. Jay Feely, CBS Sports color guy, tweeted back, and they saw it better, and they thought it wasn't a catch. He tweeted back to me, and that could have been a big turning point if he just kind of can get that foot in bounds. 17-12 ball at probably inside the 30-yard line of Air Force. Again, breaks happen in these games for they just don't happen for Army often, and when they do, they don't take advantage of them.
Right, so. That's just it. To just allow Air Force to come back after Army scored twice today, and Air Force came right back answer the score.
And there was a big play involved in all those, like it just a gashing, like
big run, big pass. It proved the undoing.
Yeah. Well, we'll wrap it up here after Army's 31-12 loss to Air Force. The Black Knights fall to 5-4 and need to win their next 2 games to become bowl eligible. For Kevin Gleason, I'm Sal Interdonado for recordonline.com.